What is up, everybody? Welcome to Saturday, September 9th, 2023. It is the week 3 recap show, even though we still have some games going on. Man, it is good to be with y'all here on the Denko Gridiron Show. My name is Stephen Peters. I am rolling at home today as opposed to the normal in studio appearance that we have on Wednesday. To, I guess, my digital left would be Lee Livingston. What's up, Lee?
Not a whole lot. Just excited. No early kickoff for OU today, so I get to go home. I'll be watching the 5 p.m. game on ESPN Plus.
Yeah.
And obviously, you and I had a little bit of an exciting Thursday and Friday for different reasons. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
we were at the
for
same
sure.
games, but just
Who's Oklahoma playing tonight?
what?
Who is-
Tonight is SMU.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I did hear about that. That'll be interesting.
I am excited to see SMU. I know they've kind of overhauled the program and they're doing
Yeah.
some different stuff, similar to UNT. So I'm happy to kind of see these North Texas colleges take off. Obviously they're all local here, and I
Yeah,
love seeing
for
the
sure.
local athletic departments do well. So
Yeah, and of course, that's SMU's big news last week, getting into the ACC. So that'll definitely help with recruiting, which it actually has. I think they landed somebody from DeSoto recently, who was a 4-star athlete. I think all their recruits for the 2024 class have been 4 stars. So pretty cool little haul so far for SMU. So that'll be good to see it's interesting to see how things take off for them in that perspective. But yes. As you alluded to, last night and on Thursday night were vastly different, interesting situations. We had the walk-off, insane 42-yard touchdown at Toyota Stadium to lift Lone Star over Reedy in that frantic game, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, as we normally do, when we talk about the games that we have watched this week in person. And then last night, if you didn't know, there was lightning in the area. Just going to break it to you now. There was lightning last night for a good, I don't know, all the hours past 8 o'clock. It was a little eerie, a little worrisome, standing on top of a metal shipping container, essentially, on top of metal stands out there in Crum last night. But it was to our backs, and John Fields and I, John is back over there actually at the stadium, recovering that game. We were just like, man, that's a lot of lightning. I hope that goes away soon or doesn't hit us, because it feels a little creepy. And then you. More on the field. I just want to hear your side of things, because I know it's been different being on the field and then having you hear the little horn go off and you have to hightail it to the car.
yeah, I was just like, all right, I gotta get because I was using my rental lens because I had to get one lens, ship it off. It's a whole different thing with camera issues, but so the lens I use isn't waterproof. So like my biggest fear initially was just, oh my God, is it gonna rain? And am I gonna have to like fix this? Like, is my camera just gonna get ruined?
Oh man.
That was my biggest initial fear, was just rain in general. Then the lightning kept getting progressively worse because I'm sitting here and I'm looking beyond the press box. I was like, that looks kind of bad. I wasn't too worried at first. And then it get closer and closer and closer. And I was like, okay, there's no way we're going to get through this game, like unscathed. And so lightning thing goes off. I haul to my car, and people
How
start.
long did you wait? Was it like 15 minutes or so before you decided I'm done with this?
No, I mean, it was probably a half hour, right
Hour?
around a half hour. Yeah, it was, because I was sitting there and I was like, I'm gonna wait. So I got like in the back of I got in the middle seats because I was driving got a mid-size SUV. I was driving an SUV last night, my granddad's old car, and so I'm just in the back seat doing some
Put
work.
that on your brag montage.
What?
I was driving an SUV last night. We need to put it on your brag montage.
Yeah, it was. I mean,
it
was a 1998 Lincoln Navigator, not to brag.
Ooh.
Yeah, but I'm just sitting I was sitting in the back seat. I was just doing some work on the computer, and I'm like, all right, whatever. And then gradually, more and more people are leaving.
Yeah,
more and more people are leaving, and then a police car drove by with its lights on. I was like, I feel like, and like by this time, everyone is gone. There's no more cars around me. I was like, I feel like I should leave, and the storm is looking bad. And I checked my little weather thing, my little weather app,
Yep.
and originally it was just a bunch of green stuff moving in, and it was just this big block of red now, and I was like, I don't want to drive home in that.
Fair enough.
But I
Yeah,
was like,
we hunkered in, so we had to take all of our stuff off the top of the shipping container last night. That's computers, chairs, the electrical cord that I brought as an extension so we could have power. It started off really well. Minus the heat, there was some wind, there's some cloud coverage, and we were rocking and rolling. John was my spotter for doing stats. It was having a good time, and then so we had to hightail it down there, and we just sat there for an hour, cracking jokes and waiting, and then finally, like, the people from the radio from Crumb's broadcast decided to go to the field house after the huge downpour passed through. It was still lightning, but they went down there to go talk to the coaches, and they finally called us. So I put out a tweet. I said, no word yet about this game being canceled or pushed back or whatever. And I go get my laptop out of my bag. I said this to John. I was like, watch this. I'm going to pull this out. And then, like, within a couple of minutes, they're going to tell us that this game, whatever's going to happen with the game. Sure enough, I pull it out and I get a call. Yeah, they're going to push this one to 11 o'clock. I'm like, go figure. Of course they are. So, it was all right. I mean, it was good to get home, I guess.
well, as we have kind of lost Steven here for a second.
Is this a StreamYard issue? Uh-oh. Can you see me?
Yeah,
Hello?
I can hear you now.
You can hear me, but you can't see me.
Yeah, you're a little blurry.
Oh, what is happening?
Well, now we're back.
My connection, it says, is unstable, so that goes for my mentality and psyche anyway. So why not the Wi-Fi? So anywho, it was nice to, like I was saying, get home before 10:30 and all that jazz. So it was fun. We left around 9 something. It wasn't too bad. But anywho, enough about last night and the weather. A lot of people were affected by it. So some news and notes to kind of get the show going. Obviously, the weather was the biggest news of the weekend, or the week, I should say. We had 10 games yesterday that were called early. 2 cancellations. That was Farmersville and Pilot Point, Grapevine and Argyle. 4 games finished. Emerson and Panther Creek, Geyer, Lancaster, Northwest, Aledo, and Flower Mound and McKinney played all 4 quarters and finished. And then playing right now, we have Community at Sanger. That's Nevada Community at Sanger. Azle and Ryan, they are in a district opener over at Collins this morning. And then Ponder and Crum just restarted a few minutes ago for the Battle of 156. One thing I do kind of want to stop down on about last night, we initially reported that the Little Elm Prestonwood game was going to be a win for Prestonwood. Every other game had pretty much said that if they were up by any kind of margin, whether it was like at the half or in the third quarter, that's game. So the assumption was, because Little Elm was up 28-14 at the half, that was a game and a win for Little Elm. And I get a reply back saying it was ruled a draw. That I kind of digged into it a little bit more, and it was ruled a draw. I'm not one to get too worked up about something menial like this, but it's a non-district. It's cross organizational matchup between these two. But if you're up 28-14 and you've played half a game already and you've kind of put it on them and you end up calling it a draw, I feel like that's a cheap out for Prestonwood and an unfortunate result for Little Elm, because they needed something like that. I think they had played well. They put up 21 in the first quarter and added another one in the second quarter, and we're looking to be on the way to a win. So I'm just going to go on a hot take and say that's kind of some BS to me. I feel like Little Elm should be credited with the win. That's just how I see it.
Honestly, I think let's just call it what it is. It's lame. Little Elm deserved that, and I think we'll talk a little bit more about Little Elm later. I mean, I love what they did in that game, going through the box score and everything. Seeing the score originally, I wasn't sure if they had played 4 quarters or not.
Yep.
And then reading more into it this morning, I realized, oh, they only played half. And then going through the box score, that made it more impressive to me.
Yep.
Got, we'll talk more about it later. But I'm excited for Little Elm right now. I'm not going to get too hyped up in terms of, I don't want to get everyone really riled up about things, but I love what they're doing, and to go out and play like they did when this is easily could have been a situation where things were really going south 2 weeks in, could have been really bad. Like
Yeah.
you're playing a really good Prestonwood team. They went out and they were putting it on them. Like great
Yeah.
job to, like you said, Coach Castillo. That's a good coach, and that's a really kudos to those players and then the coaching staff out there to go out and play really well, because you're about to get into a really tough district, and you
Yeah.
need that kind of game. And I think Braswell, same thing. You played, obviously you didn't win, but you played way better than you did the previous year, and you need that kind of thing before you get into this tough district.
Yeah.
Whereas like Geyer, they won their game, but was that really the kind of win that you needed before getting into this 5-6 schedule? So
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you kind of just already kind of segued into it. The last little news that I had just from what I know, we had Devin Hardy out in Reedy who got assisted off the field early on in that game.
yeah, I couldn't tell if it was cramping or what it was, but it sounds like you
So
may.
the coaches in the box, and these are middle school coaches who assist with doing alignments and everything and all this stuff. And they're talking. They get a text and saying Hardy for Reedy possibly tore his ACL on Thursday night. He hadn't been a huge contributor to the team, but he seemed like he had started off pretty well in that game. Just running hard and picking up some.
I think he definitely seemed like they could have used him watching the rest of the game.
Just something.
I forget his first name, but Airy, that ended up with around 116 yards carrying the ball.
Yeah.
For Reedy. Solid, great game, really good. I don't know in that game he had about 16 carries, and it felt like a lot because there were times where he looked a little bit tired at times, maybe coming off the field. But like you're kind of saying, Devin Hardy, he had some juice. He had some explosiveness, that I think that's where that running back combo, that could have really helped. I think by the end of the game, there's some explosiveness that Hardy may have been able to exploit in that Lone Star defense when Reedy did kind of start to cook towards the end of that game.
Yeah, for sure. And that was, oh man, what a hell of a game. And we're going to talk about that, awesome. what we watched. But you were alluding to a few of the teams. So let's kind of transition over that to that area of the show, is we're talking about our stock down of teams, and then we'll talk about our stock up teams as well. So you mentioned it, Geyer and Lancaster, they met in a ranked match. I think they were ranked. Lancaster, they made a drop. I can't remember, but they had been ranked and only won 28-20, and they were one of the 4 games that did conclude last night. So what are your thoughts on that result, the box score? Because I definitely feel like they're a team, after losing a close one against the defending state champ, might have either a hangover or just kind of going through the motions to get through this last non-district game. Did McLaughlin get hurt? He only had 6 catches or 6 pass attempts. So it was just a close win. After against the team that got blown out against Sauk the week prior. So what are your thoughts?
I think for me, my thoughts are, it's concerning that Logan McLaughlin had 6 attempts, considering how well he played the week before. And it's not like, there's anything looking at a box score. It's like, I don't know. It's just, maybe something happened where he's a young enough player where he could have done something, and they're like, all right, man, we got to switch this out really early. But that's a quick judgment to make. And Isaac Harney was not, 7-17 passing is not getting it done.
Nope.
So, he had 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, but that is not an efficient game for 96 yards. So I assume that's what makes me lean towards, like you were saying, Logan McLaughlin being hurt. And overall, that offense just was not, that's not the same offense. So I think we clearly can kind of see, I think it's obvious they really needed Logan McLaughlin.
Yeah.
So I think the defense played better.
Coming from the week prior, yes. You just don't know how good Lancaster is, considering how bad they lost to Sauk the week prior.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's the thing is like Lancaster could be a solid team. It's just, Sock is this they're a behemoth. Like it's so yeah, I'm not gonna
yeah, and I hate.
Lancaster isn't good. It's just like this game worries me in the sense of like Geyer also should be in that realm kind of with Sock to some extent because you are 6A
Yeah,
Division 2. Like there
wow,
shouldn't
yeah,
be that drastic. Like you're supposed to be one of the powerhouses in this division, 6A Division 1, 2. The difference should not be that drastic what Stock does and what to Lancaster and what you do. And that's not to take away from, what Sock or anything. It's just like you're a
right,
6A school. Like you have way the roster size you carry is so much bigger.
right. Yeah, no, it's just it is concerning to see McLaughlin only getting 6
Yeah.
throws or 6 pass attempts. And it sucks to say, well, you won, but your stock is down. Well, coming off of last week, I mean, I feel like they could hang with anybody. I'm okay with a close loss against a defending state champion, but to have a close win over a team that is a good regular season team, but a team that you've regularly beaten over the last few years handedly, it's just concerning. And then you have to look out to next week when you're playing Prosper, who they were in a dogfight against Rockwall, another high flying offense. So I mean, that's going to be a tough district opener next week for Geyer. And if they don't have McLaughlin and they're still out, not with Trey Joyner and the defense is any kind of suspect, they could be behind the 8 ball. So that's just kind of why I think that Geyer team right now is just stock down. It's not like we're writing them off and they're
No.
not a good team or anything like that. It's just judging it week to week. I would have expected a better result. Obviously, potential injury throws a wrench into that. However, just based off of box score and no explanation from any kind of coach right now, I would definitely have to put them down.
Yeah, and real quick, just to finish off the Geyer stuff, I will give them the benefit of the doubt in the sense of if Logan McLaughlin got hurt mid-game, like that, you weren't able to prepare for that. Isaac Herney coming in just out of the blue, like you're not really. It's very different coming off the bench, unprepped, unready to go, not really ready to go, versus getting that whole week to prep and you're going to be the guy going into the game as a backup. And I think we see that in the NFL and in college when a backup actually has time to get ready for the game versus getting just thrown into the fire right in the middle of it. And
Yeah, for sure.
once you get
Look at
that
Cooper
time,
Rush.
right? Yeah, Cooper. Like, I mean, it's a lot different. So I think that's a very fair thing to say. Is by next week they could have this solved. And so I'm not totally worried. I think you're right. It's just a stock down by like about that much for me personally.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna panic. I'm a little
Right, we're just offloading some
yeah,
shares right now on them. We're just kind of
yeah.
okay. We've seen a dip, and we want to kind of get out before it bottoms out potentially. So,
Yeah.
so next team on the list for stock down, and this is only because their stock was so high through the first 2 weeks, and given what the team makeup is and everything, that's Panther Creek. I was hoping for a slightly more productive game out of them in terms of points or keeping it close with Emerson. Emerson's a really, really, really good team, and Mike Hawkins really is a good quarterback for that system and that program right now. I think it was unfortunate what happened to him on the personal side of things, but I think he landed in a good spot with Emerson. They had a void at quarterback. He comes in and fills that void really well. But to go back to Panther Creek, the only reason they're down is just because they got taken off that undefeated throne and didn't really put up a whole bunch of offense that we had seen the couple of weeks prior. 40 rushing attempts for 111 yards is not good. That's less than 3 yards per carry. Braxton Roberts, who was proclaiming last week as the best passer in the area, pretty much. Only 57% completion percentage, 189 yards. So I was just hoping to see a better outcome. Whether they lost by 5 or 7 points, that would have been fine. Losing by 17, that's a bit different. But I think it also kind of shows just where this program will be at in a few years or next year or so if they potentially go up to 5A D2. or if they stay in 4A. So they're going to be a good team at 4A in this district, 7-4A. So yeah, that's just why they're down to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much a good summary of it. It's just it would have been cool to see them go out and really make this a tough game. Uh, Emerson, really good team. I think that for me, I'm not too worried about Panther Creek in terms of any actual thing. I think that they're still going to give Salina. I think they could give Salina a run for their money in that district. I think I'm still in terms of I still think that's a very possible thing. But Salina is also really, really good. So I'm
Yeah.
not gonna.
They had
No,
an excellent comeback win last night too. I think was it
yeah,
Walnut Grove from Prosper was up on them late, and then they came back to win 38-35. So that was a solid, or a very interesting game. Kind of wish they were in our coverage area to watch. I would have wanted to go see that one. But yeah, no, I agree. I think Panther Creek is definitely a team that will contend with
mhm,
Carter, with Salina in that district when the slate moves along.
yep. So I don't really have anything else on that other than just if you're a Panther Creek fan, be excited, and if you're a part of that roster, I think go out and win some games and probably win a playoff game, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. All right. So the next one on the list, we kind of talked about it earlier. I think you talked a little more about the this team's side of it was Prestonwood. The stock down only because you had a close win last week against I think, which was an inferior team in Second Houston Baptist. And if you're going to be a state contender, state title contender, you have to really put your thumb down on the teams that are below you. And you talked about it. Just the eyebrow kind of raises like, okay, well, how are we kind of overestimating how good this Prestonwood team could be if they're getting blown out at home by a Little Elm team? Granted, they're 6A, and it's a cross unit organization matchup, but you're getting run by a team that has a lot of question marks. Thomas Adams had a great game for Little Elm, but the defense played poorly. That's what's supposed to be their strong suit. The offense didn't really have a great game. They had a few chunk plays here and there, according to the play-by-play. So, um, it's hopefully it was just one of those nights where it's like we just didn't have it. We can kind of toss the tape, but to perform that way like they did with Callan Tasby, who played with that team last year, again, it just kind of like raises questions. Like, I mean, are we pumping them up too much? So again, that's just another reason to me why they are a stock down team. Doesn't mean they're bad. That's not what at all what we're saying. We're just kind of overvaluating what they are, at least early on this season.
Yeah, I don't think we overvalued Prestonwood from the sense of they're a really good team and they've got all these really good players. I just don't see how this team is necessary. I think it's gonna be tough sledding for them in terms of trying to get back to that state title game. I mean, this team should have gone out there and beat Little Elm. It shouldn't have really been a problem for them, but uh Kellen Tasby had a pretty solid game. Takashi Shaw didn't really do anything too electric. Uh, and part of this could have just been Little Elm figuring things out, maybe. But my biggest concern is Liberty Christian was a team that's the kind of talent you're gonna have to beat when you want to win a state title in any level or anything. You played the best
Yep.
of the best to start the season and got run off the field.
Yep.
So
Yeah, they got run off the
this is
field
2 of 3
there.
games for me where I mean, you were getting beat pretty bad, and that's the part that I'm concerned with more than anything is because we didn't see the second half of this game. I don't know what to really expect moving forward because this game could have gotten ugly. Maybe Prestonwood makes a comeback in the second half.
Yeah.
I don't know because we didn't see that, but just from that first half, it was not good.
Yeah. And the coaches might have talked about this. I'm projecting my feelings of how I would feel if I was on Little Elm side. I'd be pissed and heated if I saw that was a draw or a no contest or whatever, when you were easily halfway through the game the better team without a doubt. So that's just my opinion on that. But I maybe, like I said, I had high expectations coming into the season for Prestonwood, considering they got Takashi Shaw over from Trinity Christian, and he was a first team All District. They got Kellen Tasby, who I think was third in the area of the teams we covered last year before adding the 5 more this year. In terms of passing yards and maybe like top 5 of touchdowns. So yeah, I overvalued them, I guess, or at least early on.
It's probably what happened. It's just we got a little excited about it because they were a good team last year, and then they brought in some more talent, and it's just one of those.
Yeah. Things. So just now just going to temper expectations on them a little bit. And again, when we say it's stock down, I just want to throw this out there again. When we're saying it's stock down, we're not saying that you guys are bad. It's just that from where we thought prior the last week, things have changed and we have to sell some shares. I mean, there are some teams in here that we could talk about that we're not going to, because I don't want to disparage those teams that we just know are not good. They're not going to make a play on the playoffs or anything like that, and just don't want to kick them while they're down. So these teams, though, we expected better, and right now are just kind of underperforming. And that goes to the next one, which is Denton. A lot of talk out of Denton High that it's a better team. Even without Coco Brown, this is a better team. We're gonna make the playoffs. We're gonna push for it and all that jazz. And I don't see it at all. Everman is a good team, but they show no competitiveness against Everman. They show no competitiveness against Newman Smith in the opener, and then I think they had a comeback win in week 2 over, not comeback win, but they bounced back to win. Who?
It was a Chisholm Trail 38-35.
That's right. Yes. And it was a comeback win. It was a very back and forth game, according to the press box attendant that we talked to last week. So I'm out on what Denton can be this year, or what they were supposed to be. So their stock is pretty much they're trading at penny stocks right now. And I was hoping that it would not be the case. And Lawson Floyd would be that guy. He doesn't appear to be that guy from what I've seen. So we'll see. They could make me look foolish and have this old takes exposed Twitter account on me right now in a few weeks, but I just don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's for me, it's a bummer because I obviously really love all the Denton schools, having grown up here in the actual right in Denton and going to Geyer High School. It's just I love seeing the Denton schools specifically do well. And then I love all our Denko Gridiron teams and Denton County schools, but the 940 has a special place for me. And it just it kind of bums me out to see Denton not play as well as I thought they were going to be. And they took such a huge step forward last year. Yeah. And it wasn't just
even with the backup quarterback.
Yeah, like you had a backup quarterback playing last year. And yeah, Coco Brown got leaned on a lot, but you don't just a running back can't just do it all. You have to have some guys blocking and stuff. And you have, is it Harrison Gunter? I'm trying to remember the offensive lineman.
Yeah. Hayden Gunter,
great offensive lineman. You have some other guys that were returning on that offensive line and some other guys on the defense that were coming back. A few players, the defense, I don't think had too many players coming back, but you had guys kind of at those core positions in the trenches coming back. And I was like, all right, that's what you really need. You lost your running back, but you have some other guys that can come up and run behind these guys that knew how to open up holes for Coco Brown. And and that's the part that really makes me kind of bummed, sad, is none of it has worked. And at that Newman Smith game, I thought that offensive line was going to dominate or something. And Newman is the one that dominated that game on both sides. Which was shocking. It felt like the offensive line for Denton was just getting bullied every play, which was shocking to me.
Yeah. And, like you said it, the trenches were supposed to be the strong suit. And regardless of who was quarterbacking or regardless of who was to be the running back for the team this year, the front was supposed to hold the water back, hold all that defensive pressure back, and allow them to make some headway there. And working Lawson from the injury and working the new running backs and be a complete team or a well-rounded team, but it just hasn't been the case, and so it's unfortunate. Just because again, the expectations of Denton challenging for a playoff spot, it's again we hadn't even started the playoffs or the district calendar for them, so there's still time. But just again after 3 weeks, it's just don't see it, and I want to see it. So,
alrighty, real quick before we get into our stock up portion of the show, we're gonna throw up a quick video of our friend John.
Everything's bigger in Texas, especially Texas high school football. We're entering our 7th season with the Denko Gridiron platform. We started this 7 years ago, right across the street at West Oak Coffee Bar. Just an idea to bring content directly wherever you are. Be a part of the community. Join us. Help our contributors to tell the stories each and every Friday night throughout the season. Talking your town, your team.
Yeah, we are talking your town. We are talking your team. Damn right we are. This is Denko Gridiron. All right, so I'm Stephen Peters. Again, you can always find me at I Am Speeders. You can find Lee Livingston on what is it again? Space Captain.
Yeah, you can find me at you can find me at Lee Livingston 13. That's the easiest way to find me. I just like, all right, I can't have 2 different names. So
you finally consolidated?
Yeah, I was like, you know what? We just need to keep it all condensed and easier. It's like having 2
Lee,
names.
you know what that's called? You know what that's called? You just exposed it right there. Growing up, you're finally becoming a real boy.
Well, I mean, I still have like 8 different SpongeBob shirts, like 4 pairs of SpongeBob socks.
That's fine. That's nothing wrong with that.
Socks.
Absolutely nothing wrong with that. No, you go with your SpongeBob. I would rock it if I had it.
I shop at TJ Maxx mostly.
So
they always have awesome SpongeBob stuff. And it's
there you go, man. Hey, you get it where you fit it.
Buy like an adult thing. I'm like, I'm gonna have more adult clothes. The SpongeBob stuff. And then I leave with the SpongeBob stuff.
You should get yourself a legit suit, but it's just like lined in the SpongeBob pattern or whatever of his whatever.
I would love
sponge.
That actually might be something I do.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man. Okay. So we just talked about our stock down teams. Now it's time to talk about stock up teams that we have seen an improvement or we're excited for from the prior week. First one, we haven't given them a lot of not necessarily love, but just we haven't talked about them enough. I don't think is Frisco Legacy. They had a pretty good win in week 1, a really good win last week, and then another just 2+ quarters win over Irving Cistercian last night, 38-0. So they've improved to 3-0. They're one of the 6 teams in the area that are still undefeated. Ryan is currently playing, so we'll find out if they're still undefeated, which they probably should be against Azle. But that group has really improved from last year under first-year coach Doug Hicks. You've got I am blanking on Garrett Sims is Ryan Wood. The talent that returned from last year has really gelled this year, and so yeah, I'm buying a lot of what Frisco Legacy is doing currently, and I know I follow a few private school Twitter accounts just to kind of be more in tune with what's happening in the private school world, because there's a lot going on for UIL, but there's not a lot of coverage dedicated to TAPS and SPC. And they've given Frisco Legacy a dark horse type team to be a state contender. I didn't buy it just based off of last year, but they're making me eat crow. So kudos to Frisco Legacy. Big win last night over Irving Cistercian, and a solid first 3 weeks for them early on in this 2023 season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot else to add on to that other than they have just dominated. That's plain and simple. That's all it is. They have dominated for 3 straight weeks. Like, you're on the map, letting everyone know that Frisco Legacy is here to come after a state title. I think that's what this is, and I think they're getting really good quarterback play. Like looking just
Ian Polt.
Yeah, Eaton Polt. Ian Polt. I'm sorry, I butchered that for a second.
You're good, man.
Right around 70% passing, 9 touchdowns, 544 yards early in the season. And I think the biggest thing to note on that is when you're beating teams the way they are, I mean, he's not playing every snap. I mean, you're getting done pretty early. Like you're hitting the locker room a little earlier in those games. So he easily, I think, could have racked up more yards, more touchdowns, be like doing some stat padding, but they don't need to. So
Yeah. Well, and it's also, I think it's good in terms of Frisco Legacy. And a lot of these smaller TAP schools is they have a lot of guys who play both ways. Ian Polt is one of them. I just had their roster up. Hunter Ladd's one of them. Andy Abink is another. Ryan Wood, I said. All these guys, play both ways. Sam Jones, Wes Norris, they'll get action both ways, and so to be able to get off early to allow their backups to play for them for maybe a quarter or a quarter and a half, whatever, because you're beating teams so badly, that's good for them to kind of catch that extra rest and everything. I mean, I know they're still kids, but I mean, even talking with Davion Gross over in Lone Star after the game, I mean, he even admitted he's 15, getting a lot of attention, a lot of yards, and carries and snaps. He's tired. He'll catch some rest during the weekend, but he's still tired after it's 108 degrees outside and getting 20 some odd carries a game. So anywho, yeah, to kind of back to your point, it's good for them to be able to get off their feet in a blowout. They only allowed 13 points so far this year in 3 games. So that defense is rolling. I think their net scoring right now is 122. So they've scored 135 and held teams to 13 in 3 weeks. So
keep rolling, guys. I mean,
their biggest competition, I think, for that district is going to be Tyler Grace Community. Tyler Grace. I think they won district last year. Frisco Legacy barely backed into the playoffs last year, beating Coram Dio in the season finale. So things are rocking and rolling. So stock up for Frisco Legacy.
Yeah, definitely, because it was originally, I think, what was it? Hoping to make the playoffs again, I think is what you originally kind of had it at. Because I'm not as tuned into like all of the TAPS teams outside of really Frisco Liberty, just because, or not Frisco Liberty, but Liberty
Argyle Liberty.
Argyle Liberty, because that's right over by me, and then so it's harder to kind of keep up with all the TAP stuff.
Sure.
So I was just like, all right, Frisco Legacy, it's like they'll kind of do what they did last year, was my thought, and so it's really cool to see them skyrocket into this. Okay, everyone needs to be kind of alert.
We're putting TAPS on notice. We're here.
Right, like it's what it feels like.
Let's put on some fighting pants and do it. So right. Kudos to Legacy there. Other stock up team, Wakeland. I kind of pegged them as a dark horse for District 6-5 AD1, and against an undefeated Heritage team, they just made them look silly on Thursday. Brennan Meyer had a fantastic game. We'll talk about him a little bit later. He's come out pretty sharp to begin the season. What was the score? Wakeland won 56-21 or something like that.
Yeah,
56-21, but they were up 42-7 at the half, so it was pretty much a laugher at the Star on Thursday. So I'm buying all the stock into Wakeland right now. They're atop the district in terms of overall win percentage and being 1-0 in district play. I think they could win it, and I'm buying what Chandler Isom and that squad is doing.
I'm with you. I think that this Wakeland team's built to go out and try to win that district. I think they're going to give Lone Star a run for their money. I think they're going to give Reedy a run for their money. It's just going to be a matter of which of these 3 teams slips up against one of them. Like someone's going to make a mistake somewhere along the lines, probably.
They're going to beat each other up.
They're going to, it's just you're not going to get unscathed through that district. And then outside of those 3 teams,
maybe Frisco.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it feels like, because if Frisco, is someone able to avoid any kind of, I don't want to say stupid loss, but games that you should win.
Yeah.
Like just because that's kind of the thing I think about with like 5-6A and some of these other really tough districts is the teams that miss the playoffs are also pretty good teams. So if you kind of go out there thinking that this is like one of your free, you kind of circle it as like a free win or something. All of a sudden you go out there and you're getting upset and now you're not winning the district title or you're falling back 2 or 3 more spots than you were originally. So
Yep.
that's the part that I think I'm most interested to kind of see is not necessarily who wins the district, but kind of who might miss the playoffs because there's some pretty good teams in there, and it feels like one's not going to the playoffs this year.
Yeah, for sure. I would just looking at it right now. I'm probably going to put it as I'm not in any particular order. Frisco, Wakeland, Lone Star, and Reedy. I think those are the 4 teams that probably get in. But you could have a stupid loss, like you said. Somebody gets hurt, and it's not necessarily a stupid loss, just an unfortunate
That's true.
set of circumstances. So it happens. Yeah, so next week becomes paramount for Wakeland's chances, though, I think. You have Reedy, who is reeling off the game we watched on Thursday. We'll talk about that here soon. If you can get by them, that sets up a pretty interesting matchup against Lone Star, potentially. If all things fall the way I think they might fall in my head on that penultimate game of the season or the regular season, that would then establish who's going to be the district champ. But these teams beat each other up last year outside of Reedy winning everybody or beating everybody. So we'll see. Moving on to the next team on our stock up. That's Louisville. I know we put them on stock down last week. They're back up, just bouncing back in a very emphatic way against Mesquite in just 1/2. They were up 38-0. Mesquite's no slouch, but they're not DeSoto, they're not Duncanville, they're not those type of teams. But I think this just kind of re-emphasizes that Louisville is maybe just that quintessential second-tier team. Because when they get up against the Highland Parks or like maybe the South Lakes early in pre-district or whomever, they kind of just maybe freeze in the moment. Their win last night against Mesquite, even though it was called early, it shows that they can do what's needed to be done against inferior opponents. It's just when it comes up against the teams that they need to beat playoff time, like Prosper, who they might match up with. Allen, they look like they bounced back last night in a really strong way. So, you wonder, are they going to continue to freeze in those big moments and not be able to get over that hump? I guess one crazy fact or interesting note is the fact that Lake Highlands at one point was up 30-7 on Highland Park last night. Now, I don't know. I don't know if that game was at Ram Wildcat Stadium or if it was at Highland Park, but Lake Highlands is no Louisville, in my opinion. And for Lake Highlands to be up 23 at one point, I think it ended up being 30-14 before the game was suspended. That's just like, it makes the loss last week just that much more of a head scratcher. Like, come on, guys, it's right there for the taking. Just take it.
Yeah, that Highland Park wall is definitely, it feels even more weird. The Lake Highland stuff, like it makes that game weird. It makes the Flower Mound Louisville game a little more exciting to me to some extent because it's like, I mean, Flower Mound took care of business against Lake Highlands. They went out and got that win. So I don't know what to make of it. It's all very weird to me. Louisville's a little weird to me. It feels like we're right back where we were a year ago with Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
Like exactly where we were. We're like, hey, this is a good team. Think they're gonna go win this district. And
well, they got Capel. Capel's playing pretty hot.
Yeah. Let me pray. They have a very good shot at winning district. I think they're still the favorites to win this district.
I do too.
Outside of that, it's going to be like come down to the playoffs. Who do you get? Who do you draw in that first round? Who do you like? How does this bracket kind of break for you? Because you're gonna once you run into those big boys, that's where it's going to get tough for them, I think.
For sure.
So,
Yeah, and currently, I don't know if they're playing right now or if it was played and finished last night. It still says weather delay on DallasMorningNews.com or DallasNews.com, but Lake Highlands is up 44-27.
yeah, so that's weird, but
Yeah, that's just really dumb. So, and it's at Lake Highlands, so at least it wasn't the visitor doing it at Lake Highlands, and Louisville couldn't. I don't know. And also, shout out to Michael Odell, who wins his 50th game as the Louisville coach. So props to him. I don't know where that ranks him in terms of Louisville coaches. I'm assuming 2 behind Ronnie Gage, who was the Louisville football coach back when they won state in 93 and 96. So yeah, I have no clue where he ranks on that, but shout out to Michael Odell on his 50th win of the year. And lastly, we talked about earlier, I'll let you talk a little bit more about Little Elm. Showed some really good life against Prestonwood early. They were up again 28-14. Before that, they called it a draw. I don't believe in that. It's dumb. You don't have draws in football, or American football, I should say. It's just a stupid everybody gets a medal type of thinking. And then shout out to Thomas Adams for showing something as a quarterback for that team against Little Elm. I'll let you go on that one.
Yeah, so I think we'll probably I'm going to mention him later, get a little more in depth with. Actually, I'm just go ahead and mention him now because I love what he did. Thomas Adams, 10-12, 83% passing, 291 yards, 2 touchdowns. What a game in a half. Like, that is so efficient. That is so awesome. And then Samaj Jordan Rector, 7 for 78. And then Jaden P. Ryan, two rushing touchdowns. He had 5 carries, kind of did the goal line work as what it kind of comes across as. Overall, Little Elm had 390 total offensive yards.
Yep.
A monster performance from an offense where we were wondering, what is the offense going to be able to do? They answered the question and basically dismissed it and said, we can play offense. And this is where I love it because it makes me like, they're in that really tough district, the 5-6A district. And I'm like, you know what? Why can't Little Elm, if I'm, on this Little Elm roster after this game, this is one of those games where I think it jazzes you up as a player, and in your coaching staff, you kind of use this game to reference back to, like, they have to go through the gauntlet to open up, right? You got McKinney, you got Geyer, and you got Prosper. I don't see like, you have these 3 games. Why not try to knock one of these guys off?
Yeah.
Win somebody's season. And if you do scratch a win off one of these games, all of a sudden, now you have the energy going into the back half of your schedule.
Maybe you still a playoff spot.
What I'm saying is try to go get that playoff spot.
Yeah.
You got that. It sucks that you have to open the schedule the way you do, but if you can, why not try to go get that 4th playoff spot? Because you have this big win right before district play starts, which I think is huge for Little Elm. With the way things were trending for them, it felt like the playoffs were going to be this unattainable thing. And I really do think beating a team like Prestonwood that was hyped up to go be this state title contender, they had your old quarterback, and you go out and you play as well as you did, heck yeah, go make a big win.
For sure. And if you could flip, what is it? Maybe Rock Hill or maybe Boyd from last year, because you already beat Braswell, so maybe you keep that win as well.
Mm-hmm.
You're right there in the playoff mix. You got to find an extra win or 2, and then it might come down to that last game against Allen. It would be really tough that you have to start your district play with the 3 hardest, but then you also bookend it with just a juggernaut for the last however many years in the state in Allen. So if you can go 3-0 and against Rock Hill, Boyd, and Braswell, it's there. So and if you can shock the world and play like you did last night in that first half, like you did against McKinney, and steal that one, man,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it would definitely send a lot of shockwaves through the system in terms of like, okay, who's Little Elm and what are they doing with the team that nobody expected anything from this year? So, so stock up to Little Elm. I mean, it's
And
I
I'm
was
not trying to
impressed.
like rile everyone up. I'm not trying to say
Oh
like,
no, get your pitchforks and everything, rile them all up.
it makes me so I love it when teams go out and prove and just like we were
Yeah.
down on these guys and it's like yeah shut us up because it's like I
Absolutely.
remember I think we've all been a part of teams where it's like because you played in high school and it's like I played baseball in high school and it's like newspaper, here's the predictions. It's like, why are we last? It's like, this is embarrassing. And then you go out and you just want to prove these people who wrote that crap wrong. And I love that Little Elm went out and did that. And it's like, take that and let's go do it the rest of the season. So so kudos to them. I want to see it the rest of the year from them. And I kind of want to see it from Braswell too. I know that they lost 10-31, but that was such a big improvement from them
Yeah.
from a year ago. And the Byron Nelson team, nothing, no worries about them. I mean, I'm kind of the same on them as I was a week ago, but you played a lot better from a year ago. Like that's huge. And I'm not thinking Braswell's necessarily going to be this big playoff team or something, but I think they're a team that has this, maybe they can spoil someone's season, right? Like like, it feels like 5-6A is very obviously it's always loaded with really good teams, but it feels like the bottom tier of the teams has gotten a little bit better compared to years past. Like there may not, I just get the feeling somebody is going to have something weird's going to happen in 5-6A at some point this season is kind of where I'm starting to lean just because Braswell looks a little bit better. Little Elm's looking kind of good right now. So I'm just think something weird could happen.
Yeah, we could see the what is it, the all floods raise the boats or something about tides rising or whatever the idiom is.
I think it could easily be good for all those better teams because all of a sudden there could be a wake up call for one team, and then all of a sudden Geyer, Allen, McKinney, they start bringing it every Friday night, and you've got them just kicking everyone's butts in the playoffs.
Absolutely. So those are our stock up, stock down teams for this past week. Of course, we still have 3 games in play, so we can't really comment on them until those are concluded. So we're going to get into the thoughts of the games that we'll just talk about the one game. We're not really going to talk too much about Crum and Ponder. We talked about a lot of it earlier. It looked like I'll start with saying it looked like we were ramping up into maybe an exciting game, just the way that things were heading early in the second quarter before the lightning strikes. But it started off slow, so yeah, we'll see how that one finishes. But that Reedy Lone Star game, it was no joke. 3 different games in one. We had what looked like it was going to be a blowout. And then it turned into the ugliest offensive game, or the ugliest offensive game, middle in that second quarter. I think 5 points happened. And it was just, it was awful. I think at one point, so after the fumble in the end zone from Khalil Smith for Reedy, I think it was a total of -1 total yards in 5 straight drives. So it was +5 yards and then -4. -6, -2, -2, and then -1 or +1 or something like that. It was stupid in terms of the drive length. And then it turned into an absolute barn burner. Like it got drunk on itself and no regard for human life whatsoever. And that thrilling finish. And it was very exciting to watch. In my mind, I kind of had it in my head that I think I don't know why I was pulling for Reedy mentally. Maybe in my head I thought that they were the better team and that they were going to win and find a way to win it. And when they got down, what was it, 29-17? I was like, oh, this sucks. Kind of goes against all my logic thinking and everything. And then they scored 2 touchdowns late in the last 4 minutes, and they left just 13 seconds too long on the clock for Lone Star, who then walks it off on Winston Pollard's 42-yard touchdown, who I admittedly miscredited it to Davion Gross because I heard it from the PA. He said Davion Gross, but man, what a finish. That was just such an electric game. And coming from that Geyer and Alito game, it was 2 straight exciting finishes. I was pumped for last night and sad we didn't get to miss another.
I was so sad. I was like, it felt like we were on track for just after you go to a Geyer Alito, then you have this ridiculous Lone Star Reedy game. I was like, Friday night, Crum versus Ponder, after they scored 100 some odd points the year before, I was like, this game is going to be the most insane I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to go to over like 9 overtimes. There's going to be 250 points. And it's going to be the coolest thing I've ever seen. It's going to be amazing. Like this game's I thought it was going to be like the most insane football game ever.
Yeah.
And then just we didn't get it.
We didn't get it. I thought it was going to turn into a 6-man football game where it's just touchdowns over touchdowns over touchdowns, and you're throwing record books out the window. Like, nah, never mind. They don't exist. They don't matter. So yeah, it sucks we missed that one, but I think Reedy and Lone Star at least satiated that thrill enough from the night before, and yeah, it's nothing more I can say. It's just it was fun football. Seeing, what was it, 22 points, 21 points or something like that scored in the last 4 minutes in 3 lead changes. So
and honestly, like I was taking a look at the box score, but then it's like I honestly don't know what to do with any of that information, because I was looking at some of the quarterback information. And it's like I don't know I don't care about a lot of it, because like it was so sporadic at times, but then when it mattered, like Reedy's quarterbacks were making great throws and Lone Star's quarterbacks would make great throws.
Yeah.
They did it when it mattered. And so it's like, man, I don't know. Like I can't, I don't really, I kind of almost don't care about the first half from some extent in that passing game. And because the second half on, those guys were playing really good at the quarterback position. A lot of times they were making some throws that I was pretty surprised to see them make. And Davion Gross was not getting the explosive runs off nearly as often in the second half. They were bottling up a little bit. And that's the thing. I was really impressed with Reedy. They did bottle him up. It's just he's so explosive. Once he gets a hole, he's just gone. And so I think a lot of his yards, probably 100-ish or so, probably came on anywhere from 5 to 8 runs. Like, I mean, a lot of his 186 yards were not from all 20 or so of his 23 carries. I mean,
yeah.
But that's the part that makes Reedy. That's what makes, I think, Davion Gross so impressive, is that he is almost like this Saquon Barkley type player. It's like he just needs a little space and then it's over. But Reedy, you should be happy with themselves. It's like you did what you could against that guy. It's just,
that
game was insane. So
yeah, it was fun. I was on one side thinking that Lone Star was going to win it and getting ready to go talk to Rayburn, and then here comes Reedy to score with, what was it, about?
I think they scored exactly 50 seconds left.
Yeah, 50. I thought it was 58 or something. It may have been 50. I don't know how much it was, but it was under a minute. I was like, okay, well, time to walk to the other sideline, get ready to interview Chad Cole, and my thoughts and preconceptions about how this game should have turned out are going to come true, and then doink. It's just okay. It was fun, but just you hurt for the one team that loses in that kind of fashion, whether it's Aledo and Geyer or Reedy, Lone Star. So yeah, no, it set up what I thought was going to be a very thrilling weekend of football, and we got, unfortunately, missed out on the last half of it. Any other thoughts for the games that we saw?
Nah, just a big thank you to all the guys at Lone Star and Reedy. Honestly, that game was a blast. I just enjoyed the heck out of that thing. And then sorry to like the Crumb and Ponder fans. I know we were going to come out there, but man,
for sure. And
you guys,
it was senior night too.
Energy. Yeah, it was an awesome energy out there. I enjoyed being out there for a little while. That little bit of time I did get to be out there. It's a very cool stadium. It was awesome to see it just packed with people, and both sides were all out there. Very, very cool. So
yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. My mic's doesn't look like it's turned on, so that's why I ask.
Okay.
Because I'm covering the light. I'm an idiot. That's why. All right. So before we get out of here, again, you can always follow us on socials, Denko Gridiron. That is at Denko Gridiron, all one word. YouTube, Twitter, X, Facebook, Instagram. I think we had a TikTok account.
We did. It's not really official, and I don't think any of us have access to it at this point. So
the one person who did is no longer with us. That's unfortunate.
He's working and stuff. So
yeah. Yeah, you can always reach us at info@Denko Gridiron if you want to contribute or help support this endeavor. So yeah, just find us where you can, and we appreciate those who follow us and interact, and Thank you for the thumbs up from Grayson Nolette earlier in this broadcast. We want to see more of that. We want to get your feedback and opinions and thoughts and whatever. So before we get out of here, we want to talk about our top 5 performers of the week. And again, this is highly unofficial, just because one game I guess didn't count or was a draw because nobody wins. Games are still playing. We don't have stats for some other games, so this is our very unofficial top 5 performers of the week. We'll start off with Thursday night's game, Marcus and Trinity. Marcus, unfortunately, came out on the short end of a high-scoring affair, but Dane Parlin had a pretty solid game for Marcus, going 22 of 32 for 353 yards, which is right now the week 3 high for passers, and he had 4 touchdown passes on the night. So shout out to Dane and his performance for Marcus to keep them as close as possible with Trinity. The other one from Thursday night, we mentioned them earlier. It was because of Wakeland's huge win over Heritage. That's Brennan Meyer. I think he's the second time being a top performer these recap shows. He went 18 of 22 for 317 yards and 6 touchdowns. So 2 more touchdowns than incompletions. That's efficient. So shout out Brennan and the Wakeland Wolverines for that big win over Heritage on Thursday. To Friday night's action, just in a half. Tucker James, he lit the box score up as well with 12 carries for 124 yards and 4 touchdowns against Braswell. Tucker plays for Byron Nelson, who won 31-10. They looked like they were well on their way to another big win over Braswell. And I think that was one of the things we talked about on Wednesday was what we want to see from Braswell is if you can win, great. That's obviously the goal. But if we can see some market improvement over that loss from last year, then even better. Or that's what we want to see. We want to see some substantial improvement from that loss, which was a 59-point loss. But Byron Nelson, they were up 21 by the time that game was called, so they looked like they were still rocking and rolling. And then last, we talked about this game a lot already, but Kendall Johnson for Little Elm. You mentioned Thomas just a minute ago for Little Elm, the quarterback, but Kendall Johnson, 5 catches for 186 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's a monster performance in one half of football. So I don't know how those catches happened. I don't know if they're going to count in the
stock.
What's up?
Said I'm buying all the Lobo stock now.
There you go. I love it, man. We need to go catch a game soon with them. But I don't know if those catches were yak, little outs, and then he just ran off to the races, or if they went over the top. And whatever the case might have been, he put on a show early on. So shout out to those 4 guys. Excuse me. I only have 4 of the top 5 performers. I'll let you figure out one if you have one that you want to shout out to.
I think we have to give a shout out to Davion Gross from Lone Star. I know we talked about him a lot, but a dude had 23 carries for 186 yards, and just the big plays he provided. He had 2 massive touchdown runs. One of them just was the only touchdown that Lone Star scored in the first half. Then he got the offense rolling in the second half, and he added on 46 yards receiving on only 2 receptions. I mean, he was the big play machine for Lone Star in a lot of the game. So I think, he needs to be on that list. And then I'll throw in, it's Wilson Pollard. Is that the correct name?
Winston Pollard, yeah.
Winston Pollard made the game-winning catch.
Yep.
So throw that in there too.
Absolutely. All right, man. I honestly didn't think we would have an hour's worth of content to talk about today, just because of how everything transpired. But we somehow went over an hour, which is fine. This is live radio internet, so we can do whatever we want. We own this thing. We just want to throw a shout out to all the coaches real quick. Me personally, as I have to reach out to a lot of them each week to remind them to supply stats. if they're not provided elsewhere. So appreciate those coaches who do that, the defensive coordinators, the head coaches, the offensive coordinators, whomever might be from each school. I appreciate you guys sending us that information so I can make our platform look smarter than it really is. And then just remind the rest to if I reach out, please just send it. I just want your stats. That's all I want. I'm a simple guy, and also just follow us. We're, like I said, we're on Denko at Denko Gridiron. We want your feedback, positive, negative, whatever, and let us know your thoughts. Lee, what else you got for us before we head out?
All I got is make sure you follow us. Send us some messages. Other than that, that's it for us, guys.